Ever wondered, in a world so diverse, where does racism strike the hardest? Racism, a term that leaves a bitter taste in our mouths, is a global issue that stands in stark contrast to the rich tapestry of cultures, ethnicities, and races that make up our world. It's a pervasive problem, one that transcends borders, seeping into the very fabric of societies across our beautiful, yet flawed, planet. Our purpose today is not to point fingers or lay blame, but to shine a light on this uncomfortable truth. We aim to raise awareness, to discuss, to question, and to challenge the status quo. By highlighting the 10 places where racism is most prevalent, we hope to spark a conversation, to inspire change, and to build bridges of understanding. This journey may not be easy, it may make us squirm in our seats, but it's a necessary one. Without further ado, let's dive into the countdown. Starting off our list at number 10, we have Ferguson, Missouri. This area, steeped in a history of racial tension, is a stark reminder of the long journey we still face towards equality. The roots of racism in Ferguson are deep, born from years of systemic oppression and economic disparity. This has created a divided society where the color of one's skin can determine opportunities, safety, and even basic human rights. The impact on the inhabitants of Ferguson is profound. It manifests as fear, resentment, and a lack of trust that permeates every aspect of daily. Yet amidst these struggles, there are glimmers of hope. Grassroots organizations and passionate individuals are tirelessly working to bridge the divide, advocating for change and fostering understanding. Their efforts, though often overshadowed, are a testament to the human spirit and our capacity for change. A sobering start to our list, but we must press on. Moving on to number 9, we find ourselves in Johannesburg. A region that struggles with deeply entrenched racial issues, Johannesburg is a mirror reflecting a disturbing global problem. Here, racism is not an isolated incident but a systemic issue, affecting the very fabric of society. Its effects are pervasive and far-reaching. They shape the lives of locals, influencing their opportunities, their livelihoods, their very sense of self. The local population, a vibrant tapestry of diverse backgrounds, is caught in the crosshairs of prejudice, their potential stifled by the chains of discrimination. Yet, there's a glimmer of hope. Initiatives have sprung up, determined to tackle this issue head-on. They strive to foster understanding, to break down the walls of intolerance, to build bridges of unity. These are the unsung heroes, the torchbearers of a more inclusive future. Johannesburg is not just a location on a map. It's a battleground, a symbol of a struggle that is all too real. Another place where the fight against racism continues. At number 8, we come to Mississippi. Now, Mississippi is a place of beauty and culture, but underneath it all, there's a dark undercurrent of racism. For years, the people here have been divided, not by their actions or their character, but by the color of their skin. Racism in Mississippi is a tangled web, tightly woven into the fabric of everyday life. It's in the way people look at each other, the way they talk, the way they walk. It's in the opportunities they're given, or rather the opportunities they're denied. The consequences of this are devastating. It tears communities apart, fuels hatred, and stifles progress. Imagine living in a world where you're judged not by who you are, but by how you look. It's a reality for many in Mississippi, but there's hope. There are people fighting against this, standing up for equality, pushing for change. They're not just fighting for themselves, but for future generations. The journey through our list continues. We've now reached the midway point in our countdown. As we journey through these places, we've glimpsed the deep-seated racism that stains our world. Each location, from X to Z, shares a common thread, a disregard for the principle of equality. The faces change, but the struggle remains the same, a struggle against prejudice and bias. It's a sobering reminder of the work yet to be done. As we continue, remember that awareness is the first step towards change. Continuing our countdown, we have Ferguson, Charlottesville, and Baltimore at numbers 7, 6, and 5. At number 7, we have Ferguson. It's a place where the beauty of the landscape is starkly contrasted by the ugliness of its racial divide. A long history of systemic discrimination has created a deep-rooted tension among its diverse population. But there's a silver lining to this cloud. Local activists and organizations are stepping up, tirelessly working to bridge the gap, to foster understanding, and to promote equality. Next on the list, at number 6, is Charlottesville. Here, racism is a bitter pill that's been swallowed for generations. It's become almost invisible, interwoven into the fabric of everyday life. But the people of Charlottesville are beginning to spit out that pill. With a surge in awareness and a young generation unwilling to accept the status quo, change is in the air. Anti-racism campaigns are gaining momentum, challenging old mindsets and pushing for a future where every citizen is judged by their character and not color. And then, at number 5, we have Baltimore, a city where the whispers of racism are growing louder each day. The divide is clear, visible in neighborhoods, schools, and workplaces. But Baltimore is not giving up. It's fighting back with education, with dialogue, with laws that demand equality and justice. It's a long, uphill battle, but one that the people of Baltimore are willing to undertake. Each of these locations, with their unique challenges, are microcosms of a global issue. They are mirrors reflecting the world's struggle with racism. But they also reflect the courage, the resilience, and the determination of those standing up against prejudice and discrimination. These are places where the fight against racism wages on. At number 4, we arrive at Johannesburg. As we delve deeper into our journey, we find ourselves in Johannesburg, a city that has been marred by racial discrimination for far too long. It is here that racism is not just an abstract concept, but a harsh reality that the locals face on a daily basis. From the workplace to the streets, the lingering effects of prejudice can be felt in every corner of society. The local population, in particular, faces an uphill battle, struggling under the weight of systemic racism and social inequality. It's a fight for recognition, a fight for equality, a fight for basic human dignity. But all hope is not lost. In the face of adversity, we see several initiatives rising, striving to combat these issues head-on. From grassroots organizations to large-scale government programs, efforts are being made to bridge the racial divide and foster unity. Stark reminder of the work still to be done. Moving into the top 3, we find ourselves in Johannesburg, South Africa. Johannesburg, a place where racism casts a long, somber shadow over its inhabitants. The instances of racial discrimination here are rampant and deeply ingrained in the society. From public spaces to job markets, from education to housing, the specter of racism looms large. The consequences of such systemic racism are profound, affecting the physical and mental health of the marginalized communities. It stifles their potential, impeding their access to opportunities and propagating a vicious cycle of poverty and discrimination. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There are glimmers of hope. Individuals, communities, and organizations are stepping up, challenging the status quo, and initiating change. They're fighting against the tide, advocating for racial equality, and pushing for policies that aim to dismantle these oppressive structures. As we near the top of our list, the depth of the problem becomes increasingly clear. At number 2, we come to Johannesburg, South Africa. The situation here is quite grim, with racism deeply ingrained in its societal structures. Prejudiced attitudes and discriminatory practices seem to be the norm rather than the exception. The reasons for such high levels of racism are multifaceted, including historical injustices, social inequality, and a lack of education. This toxic environment has a profound impact on the inhabitants of Johannesburg. The daily discrimination they face is not just emotionally draining, but it also creates barriers to opportunities and resources, further perpetuating a cycle of poverty and exclusion. However, it's not all doom and gloom. There are efforts being made to counteract this issue. Grassroots organizations and brave individuals are tirelessly working to promote equality, fostering understanding, and challenging the status quo. Yet the journey to change is long and fraught with obstacles, a sobering insight into the extent of racism in our world. Let's hope for a future where we can eradicate such prejudice. And finally, at number 1, we have Mississippi. The deep-rooted racism here is a complex issue affecting every aspect of the local population's life. It's not just about casual prejudice or discrimination. It's about systemic and institutionalized racism that has seeped into the very fabric of the society. This racism takes many forms, from unequal opportunities in education and employment to more overt acts of hate crimes. It's a bitter pill to swallow, but it's the reality that the people of Mississippi face every day. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are initiatives in place, striving to challenge and change this status quo. These efforts are led by brave individuals and organizations, tirelessly working to educate the masses, promote equality, and eradicate this deep-seated racism. The journey is long and the road is rough, but the spirit of resilience is stronger. The fight against racism is far from over, but by raising awareness, we can all play a part in the solution. That concludes our countdown of the 10 most racist places in the world. We've journeyed far and wide, revealing a harsh reality that racism is a widespread issue. Each place we've visited stands as a testament to the deep-seated prejudices that continue to divide us. But dear viewer, it's not just about recognizing these troubling facts. It's about action. Start at home, in your communities. Stand up against bigotry. Foster understanding and love. Together we can make a difference. Thank you for watching.